Hello everybody. So I was having some technical difficulty, but I think we're good now. Hey everybody, hi. We are building an audience. Hello. Happy Tuesday, everybody. What's going on? Hey, as everybody kind of trickles in, I am Dr. Nicole. Hey there, your certified master coach and success strategist, wanting to definitely help you win and do whatever is necessary to help you win at the things that you're losing at right now, things that you're like, hey, I could use some support, some tips, some, good stuff in this area. Hi, Rhonda. So very, very excited for you guys to be here. It is Tuesday night. And it was football weekend, so we know that was pretty exciting. More to come. I'm not telling you who my team is. I'm not telling you. Hey, Stacy. Hi. You guys got your notepad? Get your notepad. If you do not have your notepad, you know how we do. Hey, Stacy. You know how we do. Get your notepad. Get yourself a little beverage, whatever, so we can do what we've got to do in tonight's Facebook Live. I can't see some of the other people. I know you're there, but I can't see who you are to shout you out, which is something I kind of hate, by the way, because I like to shout out people when they come. So listen, if you are not a part of our Facebook community, you late to the game. You got to come and join us in our Facebook group, our Live Like You Matter Facebook group. If you are not a part of it, you need to check us out. Come hang out with us, see a lot of the cool things that we post and the engagement we have in our community. Facebook is still saying they're creating a audience, so let's see who else comes in. So yes, all of our social media handles are Ask Dr. Nicole. Hey Tris, Ask Dr. Nicole. So tonight is part 2 of what, I don't know that I put that in the title. Oh no, I might have to get them to change that. But tonight is part 2 of what we did last week. Last week we talked about, are you in transition? And if you're in transition, what are your nouns? What are your people, places, and things that you need to manage, be aware of, and pay attention to when you're in a transition? Last week, we talked about the things. Part 1 was the things. This week, we're going to talk about the people and the places when you are in a transition. And remember, we've done a lot of vision board work at the beginning of this year. So when you think about it, a transition can be just getting from here to there, getting from here to the vision, getting from one house to another house, getting from one level in your relationship to another level in your relationship. Transition can be a whole lot of things, but there are some nouns that you want to be aware of so that you can manage your transitions with as much ease as possible, and so that you could be awake. You don't want to be asleep behind the wheel of your transitions because you don't know where you might end up. You want to be fully awake and aware at what you're doing, what's going on in the transitions that you're experiencing. So again, last week, part 1, we talked about the things, the nouns that were things. This week, we're going to talk about people, we're going to talk about places. So let's talk about places first, and we'll end with people. Let's talk about places. So in your transition, there are a couple of places that I think you need to be aware of. Hi, Deb! You need to be aware of so that you're on top of your game. One of them is emotional places. Okay, what do I mean about emotional places? When you look at how you handle your emotions when you are in a transition, what are the emotional places that you tend to want to visit and park? What are the emotional places that you tend to want to visit and park when you're in a transition? Sit and think about it for a second. Think about a major transition that you were in your life And what was the emotional space that you gravitated towards because it was a transition? Now remember, the thing about transitions that are usually the hardest for people is that there's change. Now the thing that's interesting about that is most moments of our lives are in transition, right? We're never going to be in 5 minutes ago, right? 5 minutes ago is gone. So if we look at it, there was a transition getting from me setting up this Facebook Live to actually being 5 minutes into the Facebook Live. But that doesn't matter because to most people, change is a thing. You either love it. Oh, yes, I love that, right? You either love it or you hate it, but you still have to manage it. So what are the emotional spaces places that you go to when you're in a transition? Do you become a Debbie Downer, where everything is kind of high emotion? Are you devoid of emotion where you've got to cut yourself off so nobody can see you, nobody can connect with you, nobody really knows what's going on? You kind of incubate yourself. What are the emotional places that you gravitate to? And do they cause you more harm than good? Do they really work for you? Because remember, this is the season of you standing in a position to win, right? So if you're going to stand in a position to win, not as many things as you used to can be default. Where you're like, well, Dr. Nicole, that's just how it is. That's just what ends up happening. That's just what it is. Not so much. We've got some legitimate ownership in some of this stuff. So what are the emotional places that you use for a crutch? What are the emotional places that you tend to hang out in when you're in a transition? And are they working for you? And if you know they're not working for you, so for example, if every time you go through a transition, people are basically saying to you, you kind of left us all on the curb. You kind of disconnect, and nobody can really, know where you are. You're like the MIA friend, and everybody's saying that. And then you notice over time, people are kind of distancing themselves because they're like, you know what? You don't know whether you're coming or going with this person. You may want to ask yourself, is hanging out in that distant, incubate, don't let anybody know what's happening with me, is that really the best place for me to be? If by the time I'm done, every transition, I'm losing a friend or two, or the potential to make some really good relationships. So I want you to think about that. What are some trigger places for you? Trigger places. So when you're in a transition, you want to know what those places are that just don't trigger. They trigger the wrong stuff. Like they're not triggering motivation. They're not triggering, yes, you can do it. They're not triggering opportunities to be insightful and to see strategy and to make some big things happen. Hey, Tara, they're triggering the wrong stuff. Like these places are triggering, you can't do it. You're not going to make it through the transition. You're not worthy of where you're trying to go as a result of the transition, or the transition is all your fault, right? Maybe it's a transition where you're like, listen, this doesn't look too good. Let me assure you, whatever the transition is, it will be worked out for your good. It's just a transition right now, no matter how it looks, what it looks like. And I mean, no matter what it looks like. Some people are transitioning to new and better jobs. Other people are saying, Dr. Nicole, I'm in a position now where I'm having to downsize, because of some financial things that have happened. So, this is not a good thing. No matter what is happening, hey, Kim, the transition is going to work out for your good. But all of us have to go through time, and all of us are in different seasons. So for many of us, what we don't realize is how do we manage the transition so that we don't have unnecessary loss. Hey, honey, we don't have unnecessary loss, and we don't put ourselves in a position that was not intended for us. Like, you know, sometimes the hole is only supposed to be 3 feet. And because we panic, we start digging, and before you know it, we're in a 6-foot ditch, right? So how you manage it does matter. It makes a difference. So what are some trigger places for you that don't make you feel good about yourself, tend to put you in a space of thinking about what you can't do, what God can't do for you, all these things that really don't amount to you managing what you're in right now in the best way? Wherever those places are, manage how often you go there and connect with them and pay attention. If you're like, Dr. Nicole, you know what? I don't know that I really know what those places are. Oh, when you're paying attention, you will. You'll know there are certain places where when you go there, for whatever the reason may be, and you don't have to justify it, it may be a friend's home, right? You may say, you know, whenever I go to her house, her and her husband are in conflict all the time, or him and his wife are always fighting about stuff. And when I go there, I'm in a transition myself, okay? But when I go there, it triggers all of the things that makes me think about why this transition can't work out, why I don't have what it takes to get to the other side of this successfully. Take a break from them. Don't go to that place that is going to trigger those things that are not going to help you move forward in this transition. What about places that make you feel like you are, what's the best way for me to say this? Make you feel like you're inadequate, right? And folks can say, is there such a thing as a place that can make me feel that? No. The place can't make you feel that. It's the attachment and the value that you put on the place that can make you feel that. So if you're in transition, you want to be able to guard the things that are healthy for you in your transition, right? And you don't want to be without wisdom. Here's what without wisdom kind of looks like. I ain't paying attention to all that. I'm in this transition. It's all going to be fine. That's code for I'm not human. I'm not going to manage my surroundings. And what's going to end up happening to me is all kinds of darts and interesting things are going to catch me from my blind side, because I'm not paying attention to the fact that in a transition, I have to manage the transition. And part of managing the transition is managing people, places, and things that are going to make this transition detrimental, last longer, and put me in a position where the tail is wagging the dog, and I'm standing there saying, whoa, how did I not see this coming? Yes, some things you won't be able to control, but some things you can just by being aware. So if there are places that cause that feeling, no need to go there. That does not mean you're being avoidant and weak. This is a transition. You got to manage it. It's not going to be permanent, but right up in here, right now, you want to make sure you go for the win, which means you want to be prepared, and you don't want to put yourself in places that are going to cause you to panic unnecessarily, feel like, you know, you're not worthy or prepared, or you have these strange attachments to it, so it brings a negative response that makes you unable to manage what's going on. Last but not least, let's talk about people. People in a transition are the most valuable thing they're the most valuable entity you can think about, because unlike places and things, people talk, right? People have energy, people have a spirit, people have thoughts, people have judgment, people have things that they can say to you, people have a mindset and opinions, right? So people in your transition are really important. And if you underestimate them, oh boy, you can experience some friendly fire that you did not see coming that really can kind of bring you to your knees or wipe you out. So you want to pay attention. The first person that you want to pay attention to is you. Yep. First person to pay attention to in a transition is you. Why? Because you know where all the keys to all the doors of your heart, of your past, of your desires for the future, of your failures, though I don't really think that exists. It's data. You know where all the stuff is. So, interestingly enough, the greatest source of danger in your transition, and hear me when I say this, is you. You're the greatest source of challenge to any transition. So you have to manage yourself. How do you do that? You get accountability partners. I talked to one today, funniest thing. I had to call somebody today and say, hey, am I crazy? Am I not seeing the situation clearly? What's up? You know me. Here's the scenario. Am I looking at this the right way? Why? Because you don't want to be the only one that is talking and the only voice that you can hear in a transition, right? When you feel like you're off balance, when you feel like your thoughts are a little sketchy, you want to be able to test it with somebody that knows you're in the transition, can be trusted to tell you if you're wigging out or if you're seeing things fairly, and somebody that's going to have your back, but they're also going to understand you're in a transition. So you might need a little bit more support. You may need a little bit of a nudge to say, hey, I think you're just being a little scary right now because you're in this transition and you're trying to control a whole lot of factors, but go for it. You want that kind of person to help you manage yourself. You want to manage your thoughts. Listen, we have talked about this on many Facebook Lives. Feelings are not facts, but feelings will inform, so many times will inform our decisions. So you want to manage, what are you allowing yourself to think that moves from a thought to a feeling? Then you decide it's not good enough as a feeling. I'm going to make it a fact. Might not be a fact, but you've just decided, like the queen will knight somebody. You've decided to knight that feeling and make it a fact. You don't want to do that in a transition. You want to test it. In a transition, you want to say, okay, this is a thought. First and foremost, can I manage the thought so that it does not turn into an inappropriate feeling? Nothing wrong with thoughts turning into feelings that are appropriate, but you don't want it to turn into an inappropriate feeling that then you morph into a fact. And now, just because you think this transition is going to kill you and you feel like it is, you make it a fact that you only got 3 days left here. Because that's not a fact. It's just a feeling. You're feeling some pressure. Hey, Dante, you're feeling some pressure. You're feeling some sadness. You're feeling some levels of not feeling in control. You're feeling some, man, did I make the wrong decision? What if I had done that? What if I had done this? You're going through all of these exercises, but those things don't have to short circuit your ability to get through this transition in the best position possible, whatever it may be. Because remember, this is for good stuff and for bad stuff that you think are bad stuff, right? Transitions are things that can be short-circuited if it's good. It could be a good transition that you're in and you do stuff by not managing yourself well and you short-circuit it. doesn't get to manifest fully the way it had the potential to because you short-circuited it. You don't have to do that. You can just manage yourself. What other people do we need to manage in transitions? Family. Yep. Gotta manage family. You know who your people are. Don't be mad at me. I got family too. You know who your people are. You know who the family members are that are going to say, I told you so. You know the ones that are going to say you can't do it. You know the ones that are going to say, I thought that was going to happen. You know the ones that are going to say, what do you have to lose? Go for it. What? You ain't no punk. You ain't scared. This is yours. This is you. You know who those people are. You have to manage your transitions with your family. You love them, but you got to know them so that you can position them to win in your transition. What do I mean by that? You got to position your family to win in your transition. If you know you got a big deal and you know you got a cousin that cannot keep their mouths closed, you love them, but they don't keep anything. Don't set them up to fail in your transition by giving them your juicy news. Hold tight. Don't say anything. This way, they don't have to fail at that. Use wisdom in knowing, yo, that's my cousin. They're the bomb. If this is about shopping, we're good. If it's about secrets, they're not so good. But it's not for them to manage the thing that they're not good at. It's for you to know what they're not good at so that you can manage them as a person in your circumstance. Y'all got that? It's for you to manage them so that this doesn't have to come with extra wounding, extra arguments, extra drama. And now you feel like not only am I going through this transition, I'm trying to get to this vision. I'm trying to get through the situation that I didn't expect. I'm trying to move forward on my job. All of these amazing opportunities, whatever they are, they're still an amazing opportunity for what? For you to live, for you to learn, for you to grow, and for you to have some fun. They usually fit in one of those categories, right? So if that's the case, you gotta manage the people that are in your life. What about real friends and inauthentic friends? Let's talk about it. You got your friends that are your friends. You know them. These are my aces. They my people. Then we have a way of having these people that are in the friend title, but we know in a foxhole, in a crisis, in a high time of victory, they're not really friends. They're just in the friend box. You put a title on them. You know, they're kind of like that dress in the closet or that suit that you never wear, but you like, I'm not really going to throw it out either. I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm not even going to tell you what to do with them. But what I will say to you is you got to know the difference when you're in a transition. That's all I'm going to say. We can talk about them on another day. But you have to know the difference because your ability to manage your transition is somewhat determined by, are they real friend or not really authentic friend, but they wear the friend uniform. They got the cap and they got the title. You got to know which one is which so that you can decide how much to share, how much to show in this transition, and how much is really going to create a scenario with that person that you really don't want with that person. There's certain vulnerabilities and authenticities and honesty and certain truths that you want to share with your real friends. The ones that are in the box that you put the title, but they're not really, In a transition, you want to be sure that you're not sharing information that you shouldn't. With the exception of this, if somebody is in that box and you just put them in that box, but they really are a friend, they just have not had a lot of experience with you being able to connect with them on a higher level, or them being able to show you what they're really made of, and you've decided it's not going to cost you too much. It can cost you a little bit, but not too much. Don't put the whole farm on it. Then you can let them in and you can make it a practice run and see what they're made of. It's a risk, but hey, you know, it's all good as long as you do it with wisdom. How do you manage a wolf in sheep's clothing in transition? Good question. I just say, you know, no need to hang out with wolves. The hardest part is knowing that they're a wolf, right? I don't really know why people can see that there's a wolf in sheep's clothing and still decide to hang out with the wolf. Once you know it's a wolf, you manage that wolf accordingly. You either find a safe place for you to be where the wolf cannot disturb your peace, because, you know, wolves, you know how they do. They're savage, right? You manage your information. You manage your time. You manage your access to that wolf, because you know that's what they are. What I hear a lot of people trying to do, you know it's a wolf in sheep's clothing, but your behavior is still that of it being a sheep. It's not. Manage yourself accordingly. Don't give access and put things out there that the wolf is naturally going to want to devour, because it is a wolf. It will act like one. It's got on sheep's clothing, but it's a wolf. So treat it accordingly. Last but not least, people, hope that helps, Stacy. People that you can see have the potential to be people in your life for where you're going. You've got to find a way to connect with them in your transition. So yes, it's a transition. It comes with natural things like change, lack of surety. I don't know how this is going to happen. The how is a big thing for a lot of people. How, Dr. Nicole, how? And I say, okay, in every how, the first thing we focus on is the who. We focus on that spiritual alignment first, because if we focus on that first, the how has a way of showing itself so that we can figure out what we're supposed to do, right? But there are people that have the potential for where we're going that we need to be in relationship with. In a transition, you want to identify them. Who are they, right? Who are those people? So a real random, arbitrary example, you know, maybe you are setting your sights on a department that you see yourself going to, and you're in a transition right now. Things are moving at your company. You know, you're not really sure what's going to happen, but you're kind of setting your sights on this particular area. Well, who the heck is in that area now? Like, who are the people that are in that area now that you may want to know and get to know? Who are people that do what you see yourself doing once you're out of this transition? Who are the people that can help you get from where you are to where you're trying to go? Who are they? These people, these potential people, are really important. So you got to try really hard in managing yourself to not be so consumed with self and protecting self and managing yourself to the point where you are so tight-fisted, nothing can come out the same way nothing can come in. You don't want to be like that. You want to manage yourself in a way where if there are people, which there always going to be, you guys, there are always going to be potential people that once you get through this transition, there are people you're going to want to know, people you're going to want to have relationships with, people you're going to want to have as part of your network. Make that objective a not so negative thing because it's new. Just because it's new doesn't mean it has to be negative. Just because it calls for change, you're already in change in this transition. Go big or go home. Make yourself available a little bit. Open up a little bit. Open up your heart a little bit. Open up your mind a little bit. Open up your imagination. Open things up. You see, open it up like my chest. Open it up so that some of these new people that straight up will help you not only in the transition, but they'll help you when you get to the other side. Those people can be of use to you, and they can help you grow, and they can help you go, and they can help you find your footing. I hope that was helpful, you guys. This was part 2 of What Are Your Nouns? You know, if you have other questions, reach out to me in our Facebook community, or if you're a Facebook friend of mine and you're like, hey, I'm not really sure, so I'm just going to reach out and send you a question here. Send me a question. It's all good. I'll answer, and then hopefully you'll come into our community. But know that I care about you guys deeply. You know how, I love the love. You know, you guys can reach me. Love you too, honey. Thank you, Kim. Kim Nicole. You know, you guys can reach me on Ask Dr. Nicole, all of our social media handles. And by the way, Kim Nicole, bomb.com makeup artist and hairstylist. So if you are in Los Angeles, shout out. You need to find her. She's so big time now. I don't know. She'll still every once in a while do my hair, but you know. If you're ever in the Los Angeles area, you should definitely check her out because she will make you look beautiful for photo shoots and all of that. Celebrity stylist, makeup artist. Oh, she's so fancy. I love you, Kim. Rhonda, love you. Thank you for coming. All right, you guys, God bless. And I will see you guys next Tuesday. Bye.